Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sincerely Self podcast. I am honored for the guest that is joining us today, and I know he's going to be able to give us such amazing insight, and he has such an inspiring story. So, our guest today is a motivational speaker, a resilience and empowerment coach, a professional magician, and also a best selling author. So, today we are joined by John Kippen. John, thank you for joining us today.
Lexi, it's amazing to be here with you. Thank you.
Yes, I'm so excited for this episode. I've been really looking forward to it.
So I wanted to start to give your listeners something to think about as we delve into my history and who I am and what I do.
Hmm.
Happiness is a choice.
Yes. So much power in that statement.
And so many people don't really realize that happiness is a mindset. Living every day with joy is a choice, period.
It is.
It's no
Yeah.
one else's responsibility other than yours to live with happiness and joy every day, no matter what obstacles you face.
I love that because I think so many of us think that happiness is just a right and that it's something that we are owed. And really, it is a choice, especially with the things that we are thrown to us in life. It is a choice to be able to continue and stay positive throughout all of those things.
We all get in a rut.
Exactly.
A little bit about my story. I know we have limited time. I grew up Los Angeles, Southern California area, to two great parents, only child, really good relationship. Went to a private school, started doing theater, got into computers, um, started performing, started working behind the scenes. Pretty much anything I wanted to do, I just did it. I lived my life feeling that it's better to ask for forgiveness and permission.
Yeah.
And that bites you in the butt a couple times in your life. Gives you opportunities you would never have imagined, you know? And so that's how I kind of live my life. Everything was going great. I had a thriving IT consulting company in the entertainment industry. And then in 2002, I was born in 1965. So in 2002, I was diagnosed with a 4.5 centimeter acoustic neuroma brain tumor. And from diagnosis to surgery was 5 days.
Wow.
And the doctors had no bedside manner. They said, John, you have a huge tumor. It's displacing your brainstem and killing you. We pushed patients. You're going to be operated on Friday. And then left the room. And I, being my own medical advocate, walked out, found the doctor, brought him back in the room, and said, sorry, we weren't done. And asked him more and more questions, of which most of the answers went in one ear and out the other because I was in shock,
Yeah.
because I didn't bring any bit with me. So anyone going through any kind of physical, health issues, make sure you bring a loved one or a good friend with you to be that person to take notes and listen because you're going to have so many questions. Um, and so anyway, I went in for surgery, 14-hour surgery, woke up in surgical recovery. Once I got conscious, I noticed my dad was sitting on my bed, holding my hand. But I looked around the room and I didn't see my mom. So I asked my dad for my glasses and I put on my glasses and I realized that I couldn't really put them on straight because my head was bandaged. But once I got them on enough so I could see, I looked and I saw my mom standing in the corner of her room. And the look on her face is one of horror. What did these miserable doctors do to my poor son's face? And in hindsight, that was kind of the beginning of my downward spiral where my self-confidence was eroded because if my own mom didn't love my face, how was I supposed to love my face? And I did what came naturally to me. I hid from life. Fortunately, my business allowed me to work from home and I could work on the phone and not take in-person meetings. And I had a crew that worked for me, so I was okay, you know.
Hmm.
And every time I would see the doctor, I would say, "When's my face going to move again?" They're like, "Oh no, we expected to. Just be patient." Well, the 18-month mark, I realized my face wasn't coming back. And at that point, I didn't love myself. I didn't recognize myself. My self-confidence was shattered. And I was bored at home. I didn't know what to do with myself. And so
Yeah.
I started doing magic again because magic was what brought me joy when I was a kid. Ever since my uncle at the age of 5 pulled a coin out of my ear, I was hooked. And I started to perform. And I started to realize that audiences focused on my magic and my deformity disappeared. That became my ultimate illusion. And not only did I entertain them, but through my courage to live like I was with the paralyzed face and not make a big deal out of it. People would ask me about it, and I would actually incorporate it into my magic effect and turn it into a superpower. I would say, guys, I had a brain tumor, and when they were in there monkeying around in my brain, I realized as I recovered, I had acquired some new skills. And I'm able to visualize people's thoughts. And then I would do some magic routines where I would read people's minds. And that was the first time I thought of it as potentially a superpower. And people would identify with me. Once they understood why my face was paralyzed, they could look beyond it and look into my eyes and into my heart and see who I was as a human being. And that was really when I started recovering, when I realized that my facial difference didn't need to define me if I didn't let it. And that was a conscious decision. So I was
Yeah.
performing magic for a group, and there was a woman named Darren, and she was dressed all in baggy black clothes with a hat that reminded me of a witch's hat. And she was walking down a hallway looking down at the ground. And as she approached, I said, "Hi, how are you?" She stopped. But the look on her face was, "Just leave me the heck alone." I caught up with the group and said, "Hey, have you seen any good close-up magic?" And they shrugged their shoulders. So I'd, "Come on, let's go." And we went to a little table with a green felt where I could perform. And they sat there. And I put Darren to my right. And they made every magical moment about what Darren would do. And I could tell she didn't want to be there. She wasn't comfortable. And I didn't know why. But within minutes, putting her on a pedestal, making her the conduit to make all the magic happen. All of a sudden, she ditched the hat. She sat up straight. She started to smile, and her eyes started to dance. And that was my goal for that evening, is just to get her to smile. No more, no less. So after my 30 or 40-minute show, normally audiences would applaud and they go on, but these guys wanted more. Excuse me. So I shared the story about I hid from cameras, from mirrors, and hid from mirrors and cameras for over 12 years because I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. And it was going to my first magic convention in Las Vegas where I met these great mentors in magic, and I mustered the courage to take pictures with them, and they all said yes. And as came home and I uploaded the photos to my computer, it dawned on me if these great minds in magic had no trouble taking a picture with me, what was my problem? And that was the beginning of my healing moment. So I shared that story with Darren and her friends. And immediately Darren stood. She motioned for me to stand, and she gave me one of these bear hugs. You don't seem to forget. It's like you haven't seen your sister in 30 years kind of bear hug.
Yeah.
And she was holding on for dear life. And after a minute, which seemed like many, but after a minute or so, she stood back and she was crying. She looked up and said, "John, I need to share my story." 4 years ago, I had a double mastectomy because I have the BRCA1 gene. And my mom, my aunt, my sister all had their breasts proactively removed, and I was the last of the family to go through that surgery to prevent us from getting breast cancer. And when I all of a sudden realized I didn't want to be here tonight, and then I was having so much fun with your magic, and you made me so integral to your show. But then you got to your story, and I immediately realized you were talking about me, how I've been hiding from life by the baggy clothes I'm wearing and the funny hats, and not making eye contact. And without missing a beat, she made a promise to herself, with her friends and I as witnesses, that that would be the last night she would hide. And I fell back on my chair. I was totally overwhelmed. I had no expectation that my magic and my story could touch someone on such a deep level. And she had been crying, so she went to the bathroom, and one of her friends was sitting there and her mouth was wide open. And she said, John, you don't understand what just happened. We've all went to Darren. We went to college with Darren. We've known her a long time, and we've been trying to support her for the last 4 years since her surgery. But you did in 30 minutes what we've been trying to do for 4 years. And in that moment, I realized my life's calling was to use my story and my triumph over adversity and to get out of my own way, to help other people get out of their own ways and celebrate their differences. Being different is your superpower. And stop hiding from life because we all have scars. They may be internal, they may be physical, doesn't matter. We all have things we hide from. But doing that doesn't bring you joy. And so I
Yeah.
started to perform more and more and more and realized how much my story and my journey brought joy to other people, which in turn brought joy to me. And it became almost like a drug. I had to do it. I would do it 4 or 5 nights a week because of the lives I changed just by being my authentic self. And so, I speak occasionally on stages to all sorts of people, but I find myself now coaching people. I have a new coaching program that I coined the I'm possible method. Instead of the word impossible, it's I'm possible.
I love that.
Just a mindset shift. You know,
Yeah.
you understand that you have the ability, you have the skills, you have the insights to do whatever you want, to take that risk, to not ask someone for permission, but just go and get it. You'll find that people don't stop you. They're just so enamored with your determination. They just let you do what you want to do. And that's really my message is that, it is up to you to dictate how you look in this world.
Yeah.
Accept yourself and not up here in the brain, but in your soul, in your heart, because that's what really resonates with people. And you become attractive. I'm a 60-year-old overweight guy with balding hair and facial paralysis. But when people meet me and I share my story and I share my strength of overcoming what I've overcome, people are immediately attracted to me. And it's a gift that I give other people and I get tenfold in return by knowing how I'm able to help others get out of their own way and take themselves a little less seriously. As adults, we stop dreaming. As kids, I tell this story, I'm a little kid, 5 or 6 years old, living with my parents, and they would have an adult friend come over. And the adult friend said, Hi, John, nice to meet you. By the way, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a fireman. No, wait, a policeman. No, an astronaut. No, I want to be a rock star. And then I would head to my room and grab two rulers and start banging on everything, making drum noises and start playing an air guitar. And I'm in this land of make believe where everything is possible. And I could be in there for hours, entertaining myself and imagining what I want my life to look like. And then you go to school and you get a career and you meet, then you start a family. And all of these beliefs that you think represent you are actually limiting beliefs because they're
Yeah.
not coming from your own dreams, they're coming from someone else's dream. What your mom or dad wanted you to be, what your wife or husband want you to be, what your best friend wants you to be. And then you get to my age where you're looking at retirement and you look back on your life and you go, is that all there was? I did everything I was supposed to. And why am I so miserable? And the answer is because you were living someone else's dream.
Yeah.
So it's so important. In my coaching practice, we spend a lot of time talking about dreaming and journaling. And imagine there are no limitations. You're physically and wealthy enough to be able to do anything you want. And you write those dreams down. And every day when you wake up, you read that list and you make a choice that you're going to go after that one dream today. You're going to break it out into little mighty mini steps so you can tiptoe out of your comfort zone. You don't need to leap out of your comfort zone because that's truly scary. But everyone can tiptoe out of their comfort zone. And that's
Yeah.
what I preach.
John, your story is so inspiring. And not only your story, just your mindset. Like you said at the beginning of this episode, you said that happiness is a choice. And throughout your journey that you walked us through, you repeatedly made the choice, even when it was hard and even when you didn't really want to, you made the choice to keep going. And I love how you brought up that you had to go back to your childhood self. Because like you said, as we get older, that's when we form these limiting beliefs that, oh, I can't do that. I could never be that. I couldn't accomplish this. When your younger self knew that you could, you didn't have any beliefs against it. And so I
Yeah.
love that you kind of turn back to magic and you're like, this is something that brought me so much joy. And you used it to bring other people joy. And I think sometimes when we go through, whether it be something physically or something mentally, or go through a loss or whatever it is, we go through this big change and we think it's the end of our world. And how could I ever get past this? And what am I going to do now? And you made the choice to use it to help other people and create a community and show others that we all have something that has been our end of the world. What are we going to do with it? And so I love that you've moved into coaching and you've been able to help individuals find their superpower, like you said, because it just brings us to a new level of understanding and a new level of consciousness, I really believe, when we make that choice to be happy and have a positive mindset around it.
If you go to my website, kippen.coach, there are a couple testimonials of people who went through cancer and who met me during their treatment, and both of them had given up. It was too difficult for them to fight.
Yeah.
And after I made the conscious choice of being in their lives, whether or not they asked for it or not, and I was willing to lose them as a friend by just forcing myself to support them. They both beat cancer.
Wow.
And I cherish those relationships every day of my life. because again, we are powerful human beings and we have the ability to stand up to any challenge. One three-letter word in all of our English language. In fact, all of our languages, I only speak two, is try. And we need to remove that three-letter word from our vocabulary. There is no trying. There is doing it or not doing it.
Yeah.
Try just, oh yeah, I tried. Okay, well, it wasn't for me. I'm not going to do it anymore. Bull crap. Try is the worst word you can have in your vocabulary because it gives you an out. It gives you an
Yeah.
excuse. It gives you a reason to settle for mediocrity. Whatever your religious beliefs are, whether or not you believe in heaven or Buddha or hell or whatever, Christ or whatever, we're on this earth for a reason. And we don't always realize what our purpose is. But the more you stand out as your individual self and help others, you find your purpose. And when you find your purpose, you start glowing
Yeah.
and you start attracting other people because they want some of that secret sauce. And they don't realize what it is. They just know they're attracted to you. And it's because you don't settle for mediocrity. You do as opposed to try.
Yeah. And I truly believe authenticity is just it's magnetic. Like you were saying, people are just attracted to you. Your soul is really what stands out to people. And the more that you are yourself, and for you, that was going back to your childhood and, telling your story and being so open and honest about, your journey and being able to help other people through that. I really believe that the more authentic you get, the more you glow, the more magnetic you are, and people wanna know what that is, like you were saying. People wanna discover what that is that has made you that way.
I did a TED Talk 3 or 4 years ago, and it was my first one. And the subject of the TED Talk was how to treat people who are different with respect and compassion. And that TED Talk has been viewed over 1 million times. And I still have people reaching out to me after they watch that TED Talk saying, thank you. I discovered something about myself by watching your strength. And I am moving forward despite my limitations. So, I've done so many amazing things in my life. I performed for Alex Trebek for his 75th birthday party. And how did I get that job? How did I get the gig? After he came out on national television with his cancer diagnosis, I found his daughter. And I said, Nikki, I need to perform for your dad. And I'm not taking no for an answer. And she made it happen. And they invited me to be in the entertainment at his 75th birthday party when he was in remission.
Wow.
I've been able to do amazing things just by not imposing self limitations on me. And
Yeah.
many of those are actually in my book, Playing the Hand You Were Dealt. And one of my close friends is Jamie Lee Curtis, and she wrote the foreword to the book. A picture in the background of
Yeah.
Jamie and I hugging, and that was at the award ceremony where I got the Best Documentary Award of 2019 for the documentary that she helped me produce and she was in, called John's Ultimate Illusion. But she believed in me, and So important to have someone in your corner who believes in you despite the mistakes you make.
And that doesn't put limitations on you as well. Like having someone who believes in you with no evidence, you know what I mean? When you maybe are being a little hard on yourself and you're like, oh, I don't know if I could do this, having someone there that reminds you of your power and what you're capable of and reminds you that you're just kind of maybe in your head a little bit, having that person for you is such an amazing force.
She and I got to be friends when I had been hired to help her fix her computers. But living in LA, I run across a lot of celebrities, and
Hmm.
I'm not intimidated by celebrities. So, uh,
Yeah.
and we got to be friends. But when she really became a proponent of mine, when I did something very generous, I noticed that there were no pictures in her house of our entire family together. And I said, Jamie, for your birthday, I am coming out with my super duper fancy camera, and I'm going to take a portrait of you, your husband, and your two kids. And then I'm going to print it and bring it to you. And she was like, what? I said, yeah, that's my gift to you because I know how important your family is to you. And at that point, she had two adopted kids, and now I became her third adopted kid.
Yeah,
Just doing something so nice for somebody, not expecting anything in return, just because you can. Because, I had a skill as a photographer, so it was an hour out of my time. Big deal.
yeah,
Just using one of your passions to help someone else, you will increase your self-confidence 100-fold just by knowing that you made a difference in their lives.
absolutely. I love to use the saying for doing that, using your skills and your passions to help other people as why not? Why would you not use that to help them? Why would you not use this to help this person or encourage this person? Because I really believe the skills that we're given are to help other people. I feel like when you find your purpose, typically involves other people and how you can service them. And
Right?
so I love that you've been able to identify that and use it in your friendships as well.
Yeah. During the pandemic, I tell this funny story. I spent 12 years learning how not to hide my face, to celebrate my facial difference. And
Mhm.
then March 2020 came along, and what happened?
Everyone's covering their faces.
The facial masks.
Yeah.
But I spent 12 years not wanting to hide my face. So I went online and I found a company who would print a picture of my face on the mask. And I bought a couple of them and I would wear that in public. And strangers would look at it and not understand. But friends and people who knew me would do a double take. And they'd look at it strangely like, what? And then the light bulb would go off. And without me having to say a word, they understood that John chooses not to hide his face again, even through a global pandemic.
Yeah. No matter what, you've made that goal to yourself and you're going to stick with it.
That's right. During the pandemic, I invented a game called Rolodex Roulette. For those of your listeners who are young, a Rolodex is thing with a spindle and these cardboard cards that you staple business cards, and it became your contact list. And
Hmm.
most people don't have Rolodexes anymore. We turn to our phones and the contacts. And the way
Yeah.
you play the game is interesting. You open up your contacts, you turn the phone away, and you blindly scroll up and down and you stop on a name. And that's who you call that day. Just to say, hey, Lexi, I was thinking about you. I know we haven't spoken in years. We spoke last week, but you were in my mind. You were in my thoughts. You were in my conscious thoughts. And I just wanted to see how you were doing. No other pretense. And you'll be amazed the conversations that you start having with people who are totally unexpected. And don't do it
Yeah.
by texting. Don't send an email. Those are so impersonal.
Hmm.
A phone and call them, or stop by. Bring them a dessert and just stop by and be present with them. What it also allows you to do, we have those contacts in our contact lists that we had a falling out.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily remember all the details. We just know, eh, I'm not going to talk to Lexi anymore. She stole my girlfriend or
Hmm.
whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And we kind of want to get that relationship back, but we're not going to be the ones to make that first attempt to reach out and correct the relationship, right? We're going to wait for the other person to make that first step. Well, when you play Rolodex roulette and you call that person and you say, Lexi, before we get started, I just wanted to say that I learned this game from my friend John. It's called Rolodex roulette. And the rules state that when you stomp on a name, that's who you call. And it immediately disarms you.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to talk about the reason why you had a falling out. It floats away. And a lot of people forget why or about the misunderstandings. All you know is you had a good conversation with that person, and hopefully you rekindled that friendship, and you now have someone else you can send a Christmas card to.
Yeah.
Life is all about relationships with friends and family. That's all we have. That's all we take to our grave is the memories. You can't take our money. All we have is those memories of spending time with people that we love and we care for, that we respect. And that's what keeps you going.
I really challenge all of our listeners to try and do that because you may rekindle a friendship, you may make someone's day. I think in the day of social media and cell phones and text and email over phone calls, a lot of people don't get checked up on, and people are struggling mentally a lot these days and are maybe too embarrassed to speak up on it or don't know how to speak up on it. And a simple, how are you doing? I've been thinking of you, even saying, hey, I'm playing this game my friend John told me about, and I'm just checking in on you. That could really change someone's life. You really never know. And like you were saying, just the power of relationships, you really could change someone's life just by being kind and just by being open.
Takes 5 or 10 minutes of your time.
Yeah.
There'll be times where I'm doom scrolling like everybody on Facebook or Instagram, and I see a post that's out of character of that person. What most people do is say, yeah, they're having a bad day, and they continue scrolling. That's not what I do. I stop and I reach out to them and I say, hey, that post I just read, there's something going on. What's going on?
Mhm.
Because it was not like you. That's not the Lexi I know. Tell me, just talk to me. And you'll be amazed how you become the mind reader because they don't realize the subtext of that post. They don't
Yeah.
realize it's a call for help. It's a subconscious call for help. And you're able to stop and take 5 minutes out of your busy day just to be present with that person and say, hey, you're not alone. I care for you. And I noticed you. Those are three of the best words to hear.
Yeah. I truly think empathy is one of the greatest superpowers in our day and age. I think we all get so desensitized. Like you were saying, you're doom scrolling, you see something out of character. Most people do just scroll. We're so desensitized to if it's through our screen. So being able to have the empathy for other individuals, even if you haven't spoken to them in years, being able to be like, no, from how I know this person, I know this isn't normal for them. And having the empathy to reach out and let them know that they're not alone and that somebody notices them.
In my coaching program, it's either 12 or 14 weeks. And the first couple of weeks, just getting to know you, getting you to trust me, getting to know that I'm not going to betray any confidence, because we go into some deep stuff and we
Yeah,
dig deep and figure out why you have these certain limiting beliefs and where they
yeah,
came from. And a lot of times they come from your upbringing, your parents. And it's not that they did anything wrong on purpose, but there was some trauma that happened. And so after we unearth whatever that limiting belief is, we start exploring what you can do to put that aside, how you can forgive and move forward. I have reversed engineered. I'm a creative problem solver. I reversed engineered how I came out of the darkness after 14 years of hiding from life.
mhm,
And each week we touch on a different skill that I acquired, a different methodology that I acquired on how you can slowly to rejoin the human race and start showing up as who you want to be, who you want people to see. And it's amazing. It's easy to do once you understand the steps involved,
yeah,
and each week, one simple thing to focus on. And then you journal about it. When you journal, all of a sudden you realize how impactful that was to other people in your life as you practice that one technique. And by the time the 14 or whatever weeks is up, you say to yourself, if John can do it, I can do it.
yes. Just helping individuals turn into the version of themselves that they want to be. Like you were saying earlier in the episode, so many of us get halfway through our life and we're like, what am I doing? You've been stuck in autopilot, doing what you thought you should do instead of what you wanted to do. So I love how you've been able to help people through your course discover, okay, why do I have these limiting beliefs? How can I get rid of them? And what do I do moving forward? What do I want to do moving forward? Instead of the what do I need to do?
I only take a maximum of 10 clients at any one time because although our sessions are 45 minutes to an hour, I spend a lot of time thinking about what we're going to talk about the next session,
Yeah.
reflecting and checking in with them the week between the session, and just being their cheerleader, giving a little nudge. Hey, did you journal yesterday? Okay, then you journal twice tomorrow. Just to, it's in your power to change your life. And no one can do it but you. But sometimes you
Yes.
look at whatever you're going through, and sometimes it comes from multiple angles at the same time. And all these things come at you from different your job and your relationship and your mom and your demented dad and whatever, and you're not feeling well because you're not taking care of yourself, you're not eating right, you're not exercising, and all of these things come to you and they cloud why you're so miserable. And taking the time to just separate each one of them and take a step in the right direction, small tippy-toe step in the right direction to solve each one of those little things. That's making the mountain out of the molehill.
Yes.
And it's not going to take hours and hours and hours of self-reflection. It's going to take minutes of self-reflection. Once you're committed to the process, you know, as a guide, I've done it for hundreds of people. And I see such growth. And I love that light bulb moment where I'm talking about something live like I am, and all of a sudden the eyes start to sparkle and this face goes, and I see that light bulb moment where you get it.
Yeah.
And at that point, when you get it, you're like, holy crap, I can do that. That's that's why I coach.
Being able to see them just change in front of your eyes and have the awakening in a way of, whoa, I can do these things. I'm holding myself back from my limiting beliefs. I'm in my own way. I think I'm sure seeing people have that realization is so rewarding because you once went through that and you're now helping other individuals. And earlier in the episode, you had said it's not jumping out of your comfort zone. It's not because that makes it seem so scary. It's just a
Yeah.
few steps, it's just a few minutes each day until you
Tiptoe.
get there. Yes, a tiptoe.
So everybody can tiptoe,
Yes,
baby steps. That's
exactly.
that's the mindset you have to have. If something
Hmm.
doesn't feel comfortable, you're back to where your comfort zone is immediately.
Hmm.
Only moved an inch. And if you do an inch a day, you have miles by the end of the year.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't have to be so scary. And for all of our audience who are listening, I really challenge all of you to check out John's book. And John has been so kind that he is offering all of our listeners today a free PDF version of his book so that you have really no excuse. You've got to go check it out. You might as well go check it out. Like I was saying earlier, why not? Because this is the moment that can really change your life and change the course of where you're going, especially if you're feeling kind of stuck.
And what's really cool about the book, I'm a theater geek, right? So instead of it having chapters, it has acts and scenes
Oh, I love that.
like a musical. And
Hmm.
the introduction is my overture, and the ending is my finale. And there are QR codes throughout the book. And as you're reading it, you on the PDF version, you just click on the PDF or on the QR code, and it's a live link to a secret area in my website that has
Oh,
multimedia content, video of me performing for Alex Trebek or doing my TED Talk or my documentary or doing whatever I pride myself on. Interviews I did with other podcast hosts. And, it just gives you the idea that if John can do it, there's nothing in my way.
yes.
So that's why this is a gift. And I really hope your listeners will take an opportunity to not only download it, but read it. I made the font really big, um, and it's full of images, it's full of pictures. Here's a picture of me standing next to Alex Trebek.
Hmm.
Um, Great stories of me, how I got in trouble when I was a little kid because I pushed that envelope of asking for permission. It has an intermission, and in the intermission, I teach everybody a magic trick. So to get the book, it's simple. You go to johnkippen.com/free gift. You enter your email address and name and phone number, and you get a link to download the PDF version. And the password is John Kippen. I just want to stay in touch with you, and that's what I get out of it, knowing that you're reading the book and you're enjoying it. You can reach out. You'll have my contact info saying, "Oh my God, I love that story about how you did this X, Y, and Z," or how did you muster the courage to do this? Or, wow, I really resonated with that message. It's filled with over 100 quotes throughout the book, inspirational quotes. And a lot of times you're reading the book and you go, wow, I want to remember that quote. So at the back of the book, there's an appendix, and it has
Wow.
nothing but those quotes listed. So you don't have to go struggling looking through the book to find that quote that resonated with you.
Mhm.
You just go to the appendix and look, and all the quotes are in order of where they came in the book.
Yes, you've truly set up the readers for success. Like you were saying, there's an intermission, there's the quotes on the back. Everything is set up to help guide you. And for our audience today, like I said earlier, why not? Why not read this book? I think all of us have felt you may be in the moment where you feel stuck right now and you're not sure where do I go from here? And take this as your sign that you're in your own way. And John's book is going to help you figure out exactly what it is that's holding you back.
Everyone, check out kippen.coach. That's my coaching website. And there's a link to set up a no obligation 45-minute introductory call where you and I will get on the phone or on a Zoom, and we can talk about how my I'm possible methodology might be able to get you out of your rut, get you to take some steps forward in your life, to get you to start dreaming again, to bring hope back into your life.
Yeah,
So many people live today without hope, and that is no way to live.
yeah. We need to get back to our childlike mindset of everything is possible and I can achieve whatever I put my mind to because it's really the way to success. And it's funny that we had it when we were so young and that we lose it. And really, the key to success is to come back to your younger self.
Absolutely. I saw your aha moment just now.
Yes, I've had a few throughout this episode. I don't know if you've seen. I've had quite a few, and I really think me and John could chat all day simply about this and about his journey. So John is going to be joining us again at some point in time to do a part two to this episode so that we can have more time to talk on this. But until then, I really recommend you watch his documentary and you also read his book that he has kindly given us a free PDF version of. So thank you, John, so much for joining me today.
It's been a great time.
Thank you. And we'll see you again very soon.
I will be here.
Yes, and I will see you guys next week.